Good morning. What is up, everybody, and welcome on into another stream. Welcome on into another show. It is Monday, January 13th of this year, 2025. How you guys feeling out there, man? Beginning of the year. Have you guys kept up with your New Year's resolutions? I know I have. New year, new me. Nothing but positivity. What about you? How's the new year going for you so far? Let me know. We've got a good one for you today, man. Chock full of news. Oh, what's that? Is it chock full, chuck full, chunky full? We got a lot of news. Couple of Star Wars bits, and I wanted to talk about it because, I mean, it's very rare that I actually get excited for some Star Wars news. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I'm a little down on Star Wars these days. So it's relatively rare that I would actually get truly excited about some Star Wars news. That's cool. Oh, we gotta adjust this camera. My God. Got the light there blowing out the background. Okay, we're good. It's still a little bit in there. Anyway. It's rare that I would get really excited about Star Wars news. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the news, but I also want to talk about why I truly think this might be the last chance that Star Wars currently has. Frankly, if this stuff doesn't work, man, might be time to reboot. Might be time to take a couple of years away. So I want to touch on that. We also have news about Captain America Brave New World. This one's wild. We've got early box office predictions. Everybody's fighting about whether or not these box office predictions are good. So we'll do the same. We'll fight about it. We have the date that we will get tickets, the date that tickets go on sale for it. And we have officially the writers list. A list of credited writers that are going to be on this movie. That's fascinating. Wait till you hear about that. And then a couple smaller stories, you know, some stuff about the Daredevil trailer. Some comments that Andy Muschietti made about why he thinks The Flash failed. Fascinating stuff. And then I wanted to react to a couple of videos. There's a video out. I think some of you guys know Chillmonger. Hit me up about some T'Challa stuff. Did a couple of videos. I want to react to one of them today. Because, look, I think when it comes to the whole T'Challa bit, a lot of people do not want this child. They don't want the to child or what to son or whatever it is. And there are reasons why. And so I thought it would be cool. Watch this video, get some of his insight, see if you guys agree, have a conversation like that. So that's kind of the plan. As far as for the whole week, should be kind of back to regular. Everything is resolved with the YouTube channel. I can't really talk about it too much. Maybe what we'll do, maybe we'll have a Diamond Lounge at the end of this week on Friday. Maybe I can talk a little bit more about it then. I can't really talk about it publicly, but everything is chill. Like, the channel's not in danger or whatever. But I'll have to explain, like, what happened, why I think it's bullcrap, et cetera, right? So we'll talk about that later in the week. Maybe we'll do a Diamond Lounge. Other than that, it should be a regular week. I think on Wednesday night, we should do the first members-only stream of the entire year. So the first Nerdvenger stream this Wednesday, 7:30 at night. I think we're going to have a good time. I want to talk to you guys about some of the things that are going to happen in this year of 2025. And we want to also make some decisions together as far as what we should be doing for the members streams. Members streams, to me, really important. And I thought last year when we decided to do the deep dives each month, I thought that was brilliant. So I want to do a version of that this year. But I also want to do other things where maybe we just hang out, maybe we play video games together, stuff like that. So we'll talk about it tonight. I have some plans, but I'm also open to hearing what you guys think. So that'll be this Wednesday. And other than that, I think that's all the show notes for the week. So how was the weekend for you guys? Of course, the Steelers lost. I hated it. It was terrible. That shit sucked. I also promised you guys on Discord I would tell you guys about a really funny story with Marvel Rivals, okay? So I'll tell you the Marvel Rivals story, okay? Benjamin first in today, 20 months Appreciate you, brother. Cantina Talk says, yo, appreciate you. Rossi says, LDC, let Dave cook. Filoniverse. When you said LDC, I was like, hey, we're trying to go easy on James Gunn. You know, we're trying to, it's a new year, it's a new me. When I read LDC, I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Let Dave cook. Okay. I can get down with that. Cantina Talk says, Dave has the keys to the kingdom. Make it work. Well, they better hope that they make it work, because if they don't make this shit work, whew, it's, you're going to see Star Wars for sale at, like, Ollie's or something. And I'm not talking about, like, merchandise. I'm talking about the actual license. Like, the entire company will be for sale at some Ollie's type secondhand last bit of distribution, tier 3, whatever. Kind of like, it's getting bad. Rossi, thank you for the rose. Joshua, hey, Joshua, you got to hit me up, man. I'm sorry. You know, the only time I think of the banjo, I'm sorry about the lack of banjo listening, but the only time I think about it is when you hit me up during the stream, and then I'm like, okay, I got to do that later. And then I totally forget. So you got to hit me up at a different time. Hit me up randomly. You know what I mean? You can hit me with the, like, hey, you up? And then just send me some banjo stuff. You know, that could work. Javier Mendez with a $10 holla says, how's Marvel Rivals going? It's going okay. I think I'm almost out of bronze. I'm in like bronze 1. And like, unlike Elon Musk, I'm not going to pay people to boost my account up and act like I'm a really good gamer. I'm just going to grind the good old fashioned way and try to figure it out. So yeah, it's doing all right. Rossi says, I feel like Justified is really holding back Star Wars 100%. I agree. Totally. Justin's holding us back. Javis says, saw The Brutalist last night, and the film grain looks so high in Brave New World trailer. Oh, interesting. That's unfortunate. I don't know too much about that movie. What's The Brutalist about? Was it cool? Is it sweet? Is it dope? And then Joshua follows up and says, sorry about your Steelers, but Lions taking it this year. Yeah, they look really good. Ravens look really good as well, though. What is up, Twitch? Sire1, 5 months on Prime. Appreciate you. Yo, oh, Josh got some team members, member streams now, Rivals nights. I think we could do some Rivals members streams. I'm down. Okay, so let me tell you the funny Marvel Rivals story. Are you guys ready? And I think the reason this is especially funny is because, like, Benjamin was saying, like we were talking about bans today on Discord, and Benjamin, because one of our dudes got banned for like 20 hours. So if you quit games, especially in ranked, you're going to get banned, right? I think it's like a 15-minute ban. Then it eventually stacks where, like, after a while, if you've quit so many times, it's like 8 hours, and then it's 20 hours and whatever. They really go after you for that, okay? So I'm going to make everybody mad with this one. But at the same time, it's kind of funny because it's a total Josh story. It's a total Josh thing to do. And also, you guys have to just forgive me because Athena's not even 2 weeks old, and we've been on the struggle bus over here. So, like, Friday night, after we got all that bullshit taken care of, and after everything was figured out for the day, I started having margaritas and just playing Marvel Rivals, and I played like absolute shit. But I had a blast. I also will say this game is very toxic. It reminds me of like old Halo 2 days. Like, people are just really quick to tell you that you suck or that, you know, you need to do this or that. And they're very toxic about it. I think it's a lot of the Overwatch players that have come over. It's like incredibly toxic, but kind of awesome at the same time. Like, real gaming feels like it's back. Okay. So last night I'm playing Marvel Rivals. And, man, it's on this new map, the New York map. Hate that map. Man, fuck that map. That map is terrible. Why does it have all these weird back rooms, alley type things? If you're an Iron Man player, you're trying to, like, flank a lot, right? Like, fly around, find a good angle. That level, just, there's so many places you can get, like, trapped and shit. It's terrible. Anyway, so last night I'm playing a game on that map, and, man, we were just getting shellacked, okay? And this was after some frustrating games. And, you know, I may or may not have been drinking. And so I got upset and I quit the match. I turned it off. I actually restarted my computer because it was like chugging a little bit, the game. And I took my sweet ass time. I was putzing around. because I figured I had a 15-minute ban. You know what I mean? Because like I quit. I was like, I probably got a 15-minute ban. So I just like putz around, chilled, you know, looked up stuff on the internet, talked a little shit on Twitter, just like took my sweet ass time. I shit you not. About 15 minutes later, I log back into the game. It asks me if I want to reconnect to the match. I reconnect to the match, and it's the second round of overtime. And somehow, my team, without me, had not only tied the game 3-3, they had kept the other team back so far in overtime that I came into the game and literally won doing nothing but just being there right at the end. Okay. And I was like in the chat, I was like, easy win, thanks guys. And they were so mad. They got so fucking mad, dude. They were like, you are like that guy that doesn't participate in the group project and like blah, 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 blah. This, that, second, and the third. And I was talking all kinds of shit because again, I had a couple of drinks. I was like, hey, thanks, man. You guys are the best. I hope to see you next round. You know what I mean? Shit like that. I was just going crazy on him. Bro, you can look that game up. If you're one of my friends, I don't know how you would find it. But you can go find that game, dude. You can go find that game. Isn't that amazing? And I think the lesson in life is like, sometimes you literally can't lose. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Some of us got it like that. Some of us don't. And I would be pissed too. I'd be really mad. But I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that coasts to the win. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to tell you. You know what? Some people are just chosen. Fuck. I'm sorry. Had a great time. Thank you for the win. Okay, anyway. Isn't that amazing? It was pretty amazing. I was like, you know what? This game is worth the price of admission. It's free, by the way. But this game is worth the price of admission just for an experience like that. Unbelievable. So that's how my evening went. But you are silver? I mean, yeah, true. But yeah. Pretty funny. It was legitimate. It was maybe one of the most humorous things that had happened to me playing games in a while. Was it your 200th win? I don't know. I mean, they reset the wins on the season. And I think I've got like a dozen wins. Like, dude, I'm getting shit on right now. You know, probably because I started drinking and playing super late at night. It is what it is. Anyway. Marvel Rivals so good, man. I thought I would be bored of it by now, but no. It's incredible. I mean, it's just legitimately incredible. Top to bottom, incredible design. Having a blast. I'd love to just play more. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm so envious of these other streamers that just get to stream Rivals all day. Because, like, when you first wake up, you know, your brain chemistry is just, like, on point. All of the right chemicals are, like, rising in the brain, like the norepinephrine and stuff. Like, you're on point. That's why, like, a lot of people love to get their best work done right when they wake up. And, oh, man, I would love every day to wake up, use that incredible first waking energy and, like, all the juice and just get good at Rivals. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would want to do. Unfortunately, there's a whole series of things that I have to do instead because, frankly, I'm not good enough to go pro in Marvel Rivals. So I have to just talk about the nerdy news, stay in my lane, so to speak. But, man, I would love... In fact, you know what? I'm going to do that this weekend. Fuck it, man. I'm going to do it this weekend. I don't know if it'll be Saturday or Sunday, but I'm going to wake up and the first thing I'm going to do is just play Marvel Rivals. I just want to get up and just do a huge grinding session of Rivals. And maybe I'll stream. Fuck it. Locationary says, if Disney sold Star Wars, I'd hope it'd be to Apple. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I think that actually would be a fairly good fit. We've talked about that in the past. Yeah, it'd be good. Oh, Justin just got in. He missed my story. Justin, you might want to rewind a little bit. And just witness what a great teammate I am and how I can really, like, I'm the X factor as far as, like, getting dubs and stuff like that. You should check it out. Kalisto with a $10 holla says, congrats to Vacne and Randon Loomer, who both won the Christmas tree contest. And in true Nerdventure form, they both chose to gift their prizes to other. What a community we have. Yeah, that's true. We do have an incredible community. If you didn't know, and congrats to, I think it's Vacne and Randon Loomer. Guys, we do a bunch of really cool stuff on the Discord. The mods set up this incredible Christmas tree contest where you just take a picture of your Christmas tree, and like top prizes got like gifted membership stuff for Twitch and like some merchandise and stuff like that. So you should really go check out the Discord because they do a ton of that cool stuff, Fantasy Football League, etc. We have incredible mods. We've got an incredible community. So yeah, shout out to those guys. Congratulations. And also shout out to the mods, man, for making it fun over there. Vagabond of Light with a $5 holla says, Rivals is great. New season is toit. Storm got buffed, and I've been loving her. Bro, Storm is savage right now. She's that's where she always should have been. But my God, bro, Storm is savage right now. One of the best wins I had last night was like me and a Storm on DPS. Iron Man and Storm. Bro, we were shitting on them. And like, you know, Storm really helped out. That's all I'm saying. The real Mark Hamill says, could Shin or Omega end up being canon Mara Jade? I don't think so. Although I have heard longstanding rumors that Mara Jade is going to be a thing, potentially in the Filoni movie, which would be cool. Comics things. I did see that Harloff has an exclusive. Dude, shout out to Harloff, man. Excited for him. Glad he's been doing well. Glad his channel's doing well. And he's got some spies. You know what I mean? He's got some. We're going to talk about one other thing he said in the news today. But apparently, Harloff is dropping who the villain of Mando Grogu is going to be. If the silhouette on his thumbnail is to be believed, it's that weird bounty hunter guy with the wide-ass head. I forget the name of that character. He's in Clone Wars a lot. Apparently, he's going to be like the main villain. We'll wait to see what Harloff says. It's going to be in an hour. Probably less than that now. Well, probably about an hour. Anyway, guys, should we just get into the news? Are you ready? You ready to talk about some Star Wars, man? You ready to talk about some Star Wars? Let's get into this, ladies and gentlemen. And look, as I've said before, and I think it's pretty obvious at this point, it is difficult for me to get excited about Star Wars. You know, watching Star Wars as a brand decline over the past 5 or 6 years has possibly been one of the wildest experiences of my life. It's something that I will one day write a book about. That might sound weird, but like, you don't know what it's like unless you do. If you're a content creator that came into Star Wars when the sequel trilogy was first starting and Star Wars became more popular than it had been in a long time, because you have to give credit where credit is due, relaunching Star Wars as a brand did create a bunch of, excitement and attention, etc. And to watch it go from that high point where, like, what did The Force Awakens make? Like almost $3 billion. It's insane. I think it still holds the domestic record of box office for the United States. To watch it go from there to where it is at now has been nothing short of a Greek fucking tragedy. Okay? We don't give a shit about the Odyssey, but like kind of it's been bad. It's been rough. So, the reason I want to talk about today's news is mostly because I find myself actually getting excited again, and I'm getting flashes, mirages, memories of what it was like when I actually did deeply care about this brand, this world, this IP, these characters, and why I think this might be their last chance to sort of solve the quagmire that is current Star Wars. Okay. So, first off, let's start with this bit here. This came out from Christian Harloff last week. Might have even been Friday. He said Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, is set to appear in Ahsoka Season 2. Okay. Freaking awesome. We used to get stories like this for like all the other shows, right? Like the Mando show, this show, that show. I mean, I even remember the Acolyte. One of the coolest rumors for the Acolyte was that you would get Keanu Reeves as Revan. Remember? And then they are kind of member berries, right? But this did fuel the fandom, especially between Mando Season 1 and Mando Season 2. The rumors and speculation about what was going to happen in Mando Season 2 was crazy. And then after Luke Skywalker showed up, all bets were off. Luke showing up again in Boba Fett with Mando was insane. In hindsight, that show was absolutely terrible, but that was still cool and fueled a lot of the fandom and the hype. For Kenobi, there was not a lot like that, I'll be honest. There was not a lot of like rumors like that. But this does persist as one of the things that gets Star Wars fans excited, okay? Or at least it did. Over the weekend, in addition to this story, Daniel RPK reported that Ariana Greenblatt will reportedly return as young Ahsoka in Ahsoka Season 2. Okay, so when you add those two things together, Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan, Greenblatt returning as young Ahsoka, I think it's pretty clear. I think it's pretty obvious what we're going to get here. Some kind of Clone Wars flashback. Now, we obviously had the Clone Wars stuff in Ahsoka Season 1. This was done via the World Between World and some of the like more cosmic, mystical elements from Star Wars lore. And I could go on a whole tangent about like what I think Filoni is really cooking with like Abeloth and some of the Legends pools and even potentially setting up the Yuuzhan Vong and like really crazy stuff from the past of Star Wars Legends canon. But I think where I want to take the conversation right now to is the idea and, you know, the possibility, I guess, that Filoni is going to do for Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan what he did for Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader. And what I mean is like the Kenobi show was heralded as this returning of these two iconic characters. They sort of wheeled this thing out to be a celebration of that relationship, that brotherhood, that betrayal, that pain, those characters, those amazing characters. And Kenobi was terrible. I mean, Kenobi was absolute trash. Not only was it terrible, I think it kind of does a disservice to the character of Obi-Wan in some ways, right? Like, just kind of makes him, like, sad and weaker, you know, like losing track of the Force, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of lame in that regard. And I remember as a fan and at the time, you know, doing the Nerd Theory podcast, I was super connected to Star Wars fans and sort of could really feel what the temperature was like in the room. What are they into? What are they liking? What are they not? Kenobi, generally speaking, disappointed the fandom with bringing those characters back. And then about a year later, Ahsoka Season 2 feels like, or Ahsoka Season 1 feels like it does justice to Hayden. The performance is better. He's not all like bleached out a little and here and there and like one funky thing in the sand thing. And look, there's a part where Hayden performs some incredible stuff with like the cracked helmet shit, but we all know most of that show was goobly glob bullshit. Ahsoka gives us some of the best Anakin Skywalker we have seen. That's not hyperbole. That's facts. Like, dude, that performance was incredible. He still has it when he swang that thing. The combat was incredible. And this was an example of being able to use an iconic character like that, yes, does become somewhat of cameo bait in the sense that people get excited about it, talk about it. That episode blew up, bro. Episode 5 blew the internet up. But it was also story-driven. It had to do more with actual Ahsoka, her arc, and her understanding of what the dark side and light is, right? So I'm, for one, just so damn excited that we're potentially going to get Obi-Wan done by Filoni in live action. And I think if I were Ewan McGregor, I would be so happy. I'd be writing Dave Filoni like fucking love letters and shit, because I do think the stock of the character was literally hit after the first season of Obi-Wan. I mean, consider the fact that they're not even doing a season 2 of Obi-Wan. You know what I mean? like it's not a good look for you, and it's not a good look for the character. It's not good for the fandom. So I feel that Filoni will do justice to and sort of repair the image of Obi-Wan, which is cool. Now, the other thing here, like the other place that this takes me as a fan, is I had to sort of realize and come to terms with the fact that this is the last bit of stuff that still gets me excited for Star Wars. Most of the time with Star Wars, I don't even have like an apathetic reaction to it. I have like a revolting reaction to it, right? So I go super hard on them when something goes wrong, when they announce the 30th movie that's probably not going to come out, when Acolyte gets canceled, when Skeleton Kids opens for even fewer viewers than Acolyte, et cetera, right? Like I'm dogging on these people. I don't like Star Wars. I actively dislike it. I don't even like talking about it. A lot of you guys will ask me about Star Wars quite often, and I understand that because I had a long history of making Star Wars content, was obviously, on a big podcast with Theory for years. And so I totally get it. A lot of you are big Star Wars fans. You maybe are a fan of mine because of Star Wars. And I'm sure you know that I have not been kind and that I have a lot of trouble trying to be optimistic and be fair to that brand. Because, again, it's been goddamn ridiculous what's happened over there. But, I found myself getting excited to see these scenes. I was like, oh, I wonder what Clone Wars scenes we could actually see in Ahsoka Season 2. And I wonder what impact will be made on the character of Ahsoka via something that Obi-Wan said or whatever, right? That's really interesting to me. And so beyond just getting the character back, which we've already seen an example of them doing that, which feels basically soulless in the very Kenobi show, I get excited because Filoni understands the story of the characters. If he can do something even close to what he did with Anakin in Ahsoka 1, or what he did for Dooku and Qui-Gon and other characters in Tales of the Jedi, wow, dude, we're going to get another one of these like all-time great Star Wars moments with an iconic character. Okay? So like, this is the energy that I think they need to tap into, and to me it represents the last hope that they have for this current version of Star Wars to work. And I know that there will be people possibly in chat right now. I'm ignoring you for now, motherfuckers. But I know there's probably people in chat right now, and probably people that will comment on this video or just comment in general, that they don't want that they don't like the cameo stuff. They don't like just like pulling all these characters in, the glup shitto ideas, etc. That they're over the nostalgia for those characters and that they just want Star Wars to move on. I've explained this before, but Star Wars has made that bed and now they sleep in it. They have offered so many different versions of what Star Wars is, and I think they have burnt out some of that nostalgia. We just talked about the other week a KOTOR show that's coming out, and people are like, for me, I'm like, brother, I don't even care. And that's so sad. I think if this show is doing stuff like this and it still bombs, if it gets terrible viewership, it's a sign that it is truly cooked, that it is truly over. If Luke Skywalker is maybe in Mando Grogu or, a whole bunch of other characters that we really like or whatever, and it still doesn't perform, it is Jover. Like, it is all the way over. They are all the way cooked. Because what that would mean, basically, is that they have tapped the fandom and the overall audience out. They're tapped out, bro. Like, if Luke goddamn Skywalker, if Obi-Wan fucking Kenobi, if Anakin the Chosen One Skywalker, I mean, how loaded is this second season of Ahsoka, man? Like, they're throwing everything that they have at this show. For me, I'm like desperately hoping that it works, that it connects with people, and that it's awesome, because it's the last thing I care about with the current version of Star Wars. It's the only thing I care about. But if this does not work, they are all the way cooked. And I think at that point, you have to just reboot. I mean, Rey's not going to be the answer. I'm sorry. Rey is not going to be the answer. We will know how Mando and Grogu performs in the box office, and we will see the numbers that Ahsoka Season 2 gets. And again, it's their last hope. In my opinion, the best and last chance that they have to sort of dig themselves out of this hole, present content that ignites the fan base, that gets people re-engaged. It is this kind of stuff. Dave is the only guy over there that gets it. Otherwise, Star Wars has to literally go do like a 10-year break. It has to go find itself again. You probably rebuild off of some new visionary, some far-removed version of Star Wars. It's almost like a whole new era. But if they want to connect all the stuff that George did, all the best stuff that Dave did before Disney and during Disney, if you actually want this canon to feel cohesive and to be something that will be celebrated in the way that like a lot of these other IPs are, you've got to nail this shit. This has to work. So that's the take. I am excited. I am excited that Obi-Wan is going to be in this thing. I'm legitimately excited for that. I am excited that it's probably Clone Wars flashback, and I'm excited to see just in general what Dave is cooking for that. But again, if this doesn't work, I mean, it's over, in my opinion. What do you think? Let me know. Chat? What do you think? Will this work? Are you excited? I'll catch up on some chats here, open it up to some Q&A, see what you guys are thinking. Zach, thank you for gifting a membership. Appreciate it. And then he said, happy Monday. I'll watch this after work, but I am really hyped for Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. If true, Josh, much love. Nerd Avengers for life. Appreciate you, brother. I'm really excited for it, too. I trust that Christian has good sources on this. I mean, I could speculate on who his sources are, but we don't want to do that, of course. I think he's connected, man. I think Christian knows what he's talking about. I think there's a reason he has this. I think there's a reason he has the villain now. And I'm all for it. Christian's been sort of a staple of Star Wars content for years, in my opinion. The old Jedi Council days, etc. So good for him. I believe it. And I think it'll matter and have good context for the overall universe. Rossi says, Star Wars Sith also wants a dedicated video on the Star Wars news and your theories behind the news on the main channel. Do it. I'm potentially thinking about doing it. I mean, maybe we'll wait just a little bit. Christian has this thing today. I've thought about trying to put together like a pretty produced video that goes over all the rumors and my thoughts on it. But also, I just wanted to talk about this with you guys today. You know what I mean? So we could throw something up on the main channel for sure. This is obviously going to go out as a clip on the Clips channel. And, we're talking about it here live. And I just want to get my thoughts out there first. And perhaps I'll do more of a complete video on it on the main channel. We'll see, brother. We'll see. Valenti350 says, came for the Star Wars news, stayed for the chaos. Nice, man. Hell yeah. Joshua says, Star Wars has been shit, but I'm excited for Season 2 now. Me too. I'm genuinely excited for Ahsoka Season 2. Probably the only thing I'm like really hyped up for. Even Mando and Grogu, to me, I'm just not sure about. I'm sure I'll get excited the closer we get. And if they put Luke Skywalker in it, I'll probably get really excited. But Ahsoka Season 2 actually feels like something I'm really excited to see. Andor Season 2 is more of a curiosity for me. And I'm like, man, I wonder if they've actually made it more like Star Wars. Maybe it's a lot more entertaining this time. Skeleton Kids, zero interest. They're, animated stuff, basically zero interest. To me, this is it. That's all I got. Mariana says with a $10 hollow, says, the only two Star Wars projects I am excited for are Ahsoka Season 2 and Gina Carano's lawsuit against Lucasfilm. P.S. I hope she wins because they screwed her over so dirty. Yeah, I have no updates on that or whatnot. I guess it's still ongoing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some stuff would come out in Discovery. You never really know. I would hope that justice was served. And I would also say that, like, look, when these things happen, especially when it's a lawsuit, it can get really ugly and it can be really bad. but there are also examples of times where it happens and then it works out. So like the Scarlett Johansson one's a great example of this, right? So Scarlett, I mean, she was pissed, bro. And she sued Disney big time after Black Widow. And then the Russo brothers even chimed in. There was a lot of bad blood created because of the Russos stepping in there. But Scarlett Johansson and the Russos are both back. They're not only going to be producers, but ScarJo's probably going to act as Black Widow in the Avengers films. So sometimes you can figure it out. We'll see if that happens with them. Steve says, first month of Manny. Rewatching the Star Wars prequels reminds me of the love I have for 1 to 6. What has Disney done? Love Rogue One, but then shit followed. Yeah, it's very tough, man. It's very tough to be a Star Wars fan, I think, right now. I think it's especially tough if you're a fan that had, existed before Disney. And then, now with what they've done, it's pretty rough. I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. Yeah, so I mean that's rough, and it's been rough. I mean, I don't even necessarily want to start talking about it because again, I just think it's so crazy. I will literally write a book about this someday, and I'm going to talk about this is going to be a book that outlines everything that actually happened, how corporate decisions and seeking profit was maybe one of the first things that happened, how the people that were working on the Star Wars stuff allowed the culture war and political stuff to enter into their way of dealing with fans and how that created the fandom menace and this big divide, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I even saw some shit over the weekend, and I don't know exactly what was going on here, so somebody could maybe reach out to me and clarify this. I saw a thing that the person that runs the Star Wars Twitter account has a private group chat with a bunch of super young fans that they talk to. I don't even know if that's true, but I saw people talking about it over the weekend. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It's just a trickle down effect of the terrible culture and leadership that Kathleen Kennedy has brought to that company. That's just what it is. I don't know what else to say. That's what it is. And I was, of course, intimately involved with that shit for years. It's just really sad. Kaylin J says James Mangold movie will reignite the fan base. You think so? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, the potential. Here's what I'll say. If I was being super charitable, and maybe I didn't have some of the baggage and some of the just negative. I don't like them. I don't like them. If I didn't have that and I was just being super charitable and tried to steel man the idea. James Mangold's great. Going 26,000 years in the past is really interesting. Could be really cool. So, yeah, I think that would be great. I actually have a lot of problems with the most recent comments that Mangold has made. Mangold recently said he didn't want to be dealing with canon or all these sort of things. And so that's why he did the movie 26,000 years ago. I hate that, man. Shut your mouth. If you're going to make this is one of the things, it's not necessarily his fault because, again, he's being hired by Kathleen, doesn't know a goddamn thing, Kennedy. And he's being hired to make a James Mangold version of Star Wars. Recently, Denis Villeneuve said he wouldn't do Star Wars because it's already so established that he wouldn't be able to put his vision and put his own kind of stamp on it. That's more respectable than what Mangold is saying. Denis is saying, I think, even though there's a bunch of fucked up, more recent shit, the established Star Wars from George Lucas is so pure and great that I don't want to come in and do my version of that. That would be sort of disrespectful to what exists. It's so well defined. And Mangold's kind of saying, I do not care about Star Wars, or rather, I don't consider it to be so formed that I couldn't just do whatever I wanted. That's tough, man. That doesn't get me excited about the movie. I'm not I don't know, man. I'm not a stickler for every little bit of lore, but I do think generally, especially if Filoni is building what I think he is building, and we're going all the way back to Peridia and pre-fall Dathomir and potentially Celestials and the Mother and all these things. Like, come on, man. Come on. Like, that's crazy. You can't just freeball it or come up with your own ideas for stories that are taking place that would have to connect with that lore. I would prefer someone, because Star Wars has to decide, in my opinion, does it actually want to carry the legacy of what George did and to build off of what he did, or does it want to try to seek out the next version of that? I think both can work. I think the problem is they had sold the fandom on building off of it, right? I mean, Kathy came out and was like, the most important thing is to, pay respect to the characters that George, blah, 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 blah. They want you to be happy about 20 years ago, the prequels came out, right? This is the 20th anniversary of Phantom Menace. And they want to celebrate that, and they want it to be merchandisable, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if it all matters, if it's all one established thing, and the value proposition you are asking to your consumers is to be in consideration of that, you cannot devalue that. You cannot offer 7 different flavors of it. You cannot say, oh, well, this story actually doesn't matter that much because of this, et cetera, et cetera. So, to me, I'm not that excited about the Mangold film. Like, I'm not. I don't love what I'm hearing him say. But he is a good filmmaker. You know what else I think is like kind of apparent now, which most of us can at least acknowledge this. Like, I know there's everybody has their own takes. Everybody has like their own thoughts about these sort of things. But I think one thing that's become really clear is that Star Wars is a very unique brand insofar as it is hard to nail that shit. And I do think there's a big fandom that is divided and they value different things, et cetera, et cetera. So there's like a lot of unique issues for the Star Wars brand. That's one thing I think we could all agree on. Locationary says, originally, I didn't understand why you stopped Nerd Theory, but I completely get it now. It would have just been depressing every week. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big part of it. It's like, I did not see, especially like, because we were about wrapping Ahsoka, right? So in my mind at that time, knowing that Ahsoka was going to be over, knowing what was coming next, I was like, I don't think I want to do hours and hours of content each and every week about Star Wars, because it would end up just dissolving into the same argument, the same complaints, the same thing, like almost every time. And that's just not great. I don't want to be feeling that way, speaking that way, putting that energy out. So yeah, that's obviously a consideration. Kaylin J says, Mangold's film is set 25,000 years before the Skywalker era. He shouldn't be held to specific lore with a divided fan base that's always left unhappy. New and fresh ideas are needed. I mean, I understand the line of thinking. I agree in principle. But what I'm saying is, especially because Dave is building stuff that goes way back, like whether it's the stuff in Mando 2 on Tython or the stuff on Peridia, Dave is going essentially back to 25,000 years ago. Like, especially if it's the Jedi, right? And Ashla and the bowgun and that Tython, if that's the same one, yeah, we're 25,000 years in the past. So fresh ideas, sure. Not being held to specific lore, sure. Contradicting other parts of the canon that are trying to build something, no. You just can't do that. Kyber Sid, thank you for the membership, buddy. Appreciate it. And then Joshua says, when does a joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. That's a pretty good one. So, I mean, what do you guys think, right? Like, I guess here's my main question, just because I'm very curious how this community feels. Are you guys, like, excited for Obi-Wan? Like, I guess it comes down to this. It's either Filoni stuff or a fresh new take. Filoni stuff or a fresh new take. You know what? Let's do a poll. Let's go to the polls on this. What should Star Wars do? Filoni stuff? Fresh stuff. Let's say fresh new direction. What do you guys think? Go ahead. Let me know in the poll. If the new stuff fails, then Star Wars will need to go into hiding for 6 to 7 more years, change their brand name, and start over. Yeah, if the current, I think the next 2 years are going to be very telling for Star Wars. Right? And then, like, I would honestly, like, if I'm being real with you, I'd go to James Mangold. I mean, I don't know how much longer he even wants to be making movies, right? But I might go to James Mangold and be like, you know, what you want to do, sir, I'm not quite ready to pull that lever. But if what we're currently trying kind of bombs, I think it might be time to do something like that. You know, complete, fresh, new, like not beholden to anything. But I would go into the future rather than the past. I'd keep everything kind of canonical and then just go into the future. If not Mangold, you need to find somebody that's visionary, that like has an understanding of what George did, the motifs, the mysticism, you know, I think the operatic elements, but has like their own vision for how new characters and new story can retread some of that. And I would wait like 5 to 6 years. I would find an incredibly talented up and coming filmmaker or writer, and I would build out a new trilogy. This is the new Star Wars trilogy, right? So that's what I would do. Vok says, it's already the 5th last chance / hope. It's over. Hey, you might be right. You might be right. Shit. Is it over, guys? Remember how they extinguished the huge unifying fandom-wide hype of Luke returning in Mando Season 2 by firing Gina? Regardless of what you think of that, horrific timing. Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's horrific timing. I think Pablo Hidalgo being his big, stupid, dumb self on Twitter was terrible timing. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing is, like, it's just a culture of, I don't know, man. It's just fucking weird, right? Like, Kathleen Kennedy's, the entire culture of Lucasfilm has been so weird to me. It's just felt very, you know what it is? I think they just take the fans for granted, ultimately. You know, and I almost felt like there was this philosophy of, we have the biggest brand in the world. We will make it big with people that are not like you if we have to. Like, basically. Instead of being like, hey, these people that have supported this brand for 40 years, that made it what it was, that was valuable enough for us to purchase for $4 billion. Let's make sure that those people are catered to and excited, and let's actually turn them into ambassadors for the brand to get new people in. Instead of that, the attitude was more like, we're Disney now. We're going to get every single mom and tween and you know, girl that wants to blow up on social media by spinning sabers together or whatever. Like, their philosophy seemed to be, we will be able to replace you with new fans. And so therefore a lot of these old lingering aspects of the fandom we don't care for. And some of that is maybe a little uncharitable. And in some cases, I feel like that is directly spot on for what happened. You know, it's weird. Braden says, is it wrong to say Filoni hasn't proven to be successful enough to give us his version of Star Wars? I personally don't think that's fair, mostly because of the last year. So when Ahsoka's numbers first came out, I might have even agreed with you, Braden, where I might have been like, you know what? These numbers really, like, they're not great. Like, I expected more. I think Dave's a little unproven, and there are some blemishes in the show itself that I think point to that as well. But in hindsight, a year plus later, when we look at the numbers for everything else that came out after that show, brother. Dave was able to capture attention at a time when maybe we didn't realize how bad it was going away. So I think not. But that success wasn't apparent until we saw how bad the fall off was. Because, like, you could take the weekly viewership for Acolyte and for Skeleton Kids and put it together, and I still don't think it hits Ahsoka numbers. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I would put money on it. That's how confident I am. Although that's not saying much. I like to gamble. You see what I'm saying? Or you can view it as contributing to the decline. You could view it as contributing to the decline. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a tough one to answer, right? There's so many points of decline. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I've not just heard that. I've heard a lot of people say, like, I think I saw theory saying that Acolyte is really what damaged Skeleton Kids. And then a lot of people say it was The Last Jedi that damaged Solo. I think The Last Jedi is probably actually the most, like, conclusive one that you could draw the comparison to. It's because it's not just the reception, but also the time period and a little bit of fatigue. But, like, who is to say, right? Like, was it Ahsoka? I don't know. Was it Kenobi? I'll tell you one thing we know for sure. Kenobi was the biggest watched one. So if the quality of the product is what started the decline, then that suggests the highest data point, the biggest piece of the puzzle is Kenobi, because it was seen by the most people. And then there was serious decline after that. Right? I don't know, but I still think it's accurate to say that when you look at the Ahsoka numbers a year later, they look godly compared to what they've been able to pull in the past year. Mr. Falcon, appreciate the 5 spot, says, what up, Josh? Hope you and the fam had a good weekend. Also, you got any good Warhammer novel recommendations? Yeah, dude. Well, there's actually a novel I really want to read with the Necrons called The Infinite and the Divine. And I've been diving in on my lore videos for Warhammer, just like on YouTube, kind of in preparation for some of the stuff we're going to do with Matt, Nerd of the Rings. And I saw several people recommend that Necron book. And I was like, you know what? I've never really read anything with the Necrons. The Necrons are really cool. Let's give it a shot. So I think I'm going to read that one next. And I've heard it's really good. My favorite Warhammer novel is either Valdor or The Lion, Son of the Forest. I've read some of the Horus Heresy books, The End and the Death. Pretty cool trilogy, but I think you'll be lost if you don't read it. Some of the other Primarch books are really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I always suggest Valdor, but I think honestly, Warhammer has such depth that you almost need to do your homework before you start any of the novels. Because otherwise you're going to be lost. Like, you need to know the basic players, the basic principles. There's this really great channel called Warhammer Explain. Gone before we knew how good it was. But that channel has some pretty incredible videos that can kind of set you up. Yeah. Delta Dance says, yo, shout out the new girl dad. I'm that 2 times happy for you, Josh. And Elisa, much love. I trust Dave Filoni. Have a great day, chat. 3 amigos, 15 months. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, things are good, man. Athena is a little beast. She's already drinking 4-ounce bottles and giving us like 4 or 5 hour stretches of sleep, which is incredible. So she's a little super baby. The only thing, because kids are so different and each one has like their own things that they do great and things they don't. The only thing with Athena right now is she's terrible on car rides, which is so counterintuitive. Most of the time, kids love the car so much that you can put them in the car to try to get them to go to sleep. Athena hates car rides. Like, as soon as we get her in the car seat and put her in the car, she's just whining the whole time, which is kind of a bummer. But it is what it is. She's a good girl. He switches to Warhammer so quick. I was asked a question about Warhammer. What do you mean he switches to Warhammer so quick? Which, by the way, You see how many Warhammer questions we're getting these days? You see how the interest is building? Oh, man, Warhammer about to pop off, bro. Woo! The Exodus says, what are your thoughts on the new material with legacy characters? They recast them. Sebastian Stan as Luke, etc. So, for me, I don't necessarily want that unless there's a very good reason for it. So, like, one of the things that I think is cool about what Ahsoka is doing, right, is that it makes the reunion with Anakin, and it makes Ahsoka's sort of arc, because really, like, what that whole thing's about is she's having trouble taking the good, taking the love, taking the teachings of Anakin, because he becomes Vader. And there's this, like, catharsis that happens for that character when she's able to accept the good, the love, the honest to God, life-saving teaching that Anakin gave her, and the fact that he was this incredible person, yet also had this tragic fall, right? And I like that because it's adding to already established, like, canon, lore, feelings, resolve, all that. And yet it's not like, hey, here's the new Anakin show that is going to be recast, and now we're going to get this whole new thing with Anakin because you guys love Anakin, right? Like, it's fucking Anakin. You love Anakin, right? Feels like there's a fine line there. I don't want, like, a whole Heir to the Empire series with all those characters together at this point. Like, that's not really what I'm looking for, although there's room for some of that, I think. I'm kind of more interested in what's going on with Ahsoka because it's, like, continuing the character arc of that character. And I don't know. To me, that's better. But I suppose there's a way to do both. I wonder if you guys would be interested in that. Would you guys want that? Like a straight up Heir to the Empire movie. It's Han, it's Leia, it's Luke. They're all recast, and we follow those characters. Like, would that be cool? Would you guys want that? Christopher says, with a 5 spot, I did feel like Star Wars was back up on the upswing, Mando season 1 and 2. Boba Fett, especially Kenobi, were real opportunities for the brand. Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree. I agree with that, yes. Right now, the poll is 65% of people want Filoni stuff, and 35% of people want a fresh new direction. I think this poll proves my point. This is their last chance. If they fuck this up, it's going to turn into 40, 45, 50, 55, or 60, 55. Like, I kind of can't believe there's actually 35. I understand it, but it's, like, kind of unbelievable to me that 35% of the fandom, or rather, I shouldn't say that, but 35% of the people that have voted here are like, wonder what it would be like total. It's probably pretty close to this. And if they screw it up this next time, I think that drops. And then basically you're doing a coin flip. Right? Like, would you feel great as a company if you were like, hey, let's do this thing. I wonder if the fans will like it. Let's flip a coin. No. That's not really what you want. Exclusive from Forbes, Acolyte beats Skeleton Crew. I mean, I literally said that earlier, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's good that Forbes is listening to me and taking all of the infinite nerdy wisdom that I spill out onto these interwebs, you know what I mean? So it's cool. It's cool. Good job, Forbes. Okay, y'all want to switch into some other thingy things here? You want to talk about some other things? There's other things. Or should we stick on this Star Wars thing for a little bit longer? It's so rare. It's so rare that I get excited about Star Wars news. Maybe I should gush a little bit more about why I think it would be so cool. maybe there were some missions or some time periods where Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka together found ancient statues, carvings, artifacts. Maybe there was something they all experienced together, like, I don't know, Mortis itself, that would have maybe opened their eyes to the ones, the Celestials, the father, the daughter, all that sort of stuff. So, to me, I think the coolest way to do it, the dopest dope that they could do, is to retell some of the Mortis arc in live action. That allows you to open some really, really interesting doors. Because one of the things that's so cool about the character of Abeloth, and some of you guys know this because, like, you're Nerdvengers, and that just makes you better than everybody else, and you know stuff. But some of you don't, so I'll tell you. At the time that Dave was cooking up the Mortis arc, some of the authors in the EU were building out the Legacy of the Force novels. And they had an idea for a character called Abeloth. And they had this idea about the ones. And they literally had a meeting with Dave Filoni. And ironically, Dave was building a similar character to Abeloth completely separately from them. So both of them were building this sort of female mortal that falls, that basically screwed everything up for the Celestials or the Ones. So I love that, because back then the EU was not directly connected to anything canon in like what Disney was doing. And yet Dave was still trying to build canon between those two universes via what he was doing in the show and what they were doing in the novels. So wouldn't it be interesting if we got a little bit more of that context filled out in Ahsoka Season 2, maybe when they get to the place that Balin was ultimately heading to? Maybe it ends up looking just like Mortis. Maybe there's a flashback to Mortis. Maybe when you look into the pool of knowledge, you get a flashback to Mortis or something like that. So, bro, they could absolutely be cooking with that. Looks like I missed Griff's message here. It says, "What up, Josh? Are the rumors about another Star Wars animated project true? I know Star Wars isn't your cup of tea right now, but what can you tell us?" I can tell you that I haven't talked to some of my best Star Wars sources in a long time. So I'm not, there's a couple of people I'm thinking of that I lost touch with when I lost my original Twitter account. I could probably find them and hit them up, but I just haven't, because again, I've been super checked out on Star Wars. Are the animated shows real? Yeah, I believe it. There were a lot of shows they were building that got scrapped or got canceled or changed. I'm not quite sure what the status of all of that is, but like, yeah, it'd be cool, right? Like, I knew there was going to be a show that kind of was a follow-up to Bad Batch, but was focused more on the clones. I don't know, like, or focused, I guess, on the clones again. I don't know. I don't know what they're cooking with the animated stuff. There's a lot of cool opportunities there, but man, I just don't. I think Visions has kind of fallen off. Some of it's good, but like, and then Tales of the Empire was just terrible to me. Tales of the Empire was bad. Let's see here. Delta Dan says, "Yo, shout out my..." Oh, no, I already read that. Let's see here. Christopher, I feel like Star Wars is back. Yeah. Miss Griff's chat. Got it. Cyber says, "Josh, can we watch X-Men 97? Hell yeah, brother. I don't know when, but that's something I want to do. I want to watch X-Men 97 again with all of you, man. Like, let's binge the whole season. get super nerdy, get super hyped up. Hell yeah. Justin says, Josh, you got me, man. I'm looking forward to the blow up of Warhammer. Just to quickly bomb like Space Marine players count. Sorry to burst your bubble. Damn, 46 months. What the fuck? So many mixed emotions. So many mixed emotions over there. Callisto gifted 3 months to Shreddy Valid. That's probably for the Christmas tree thing, huh? Super cool. Super cool. Okay, let's binge it right now. Nah, bro, we can't. But you know what we can do? And I'm sure you're excited for this, guys. You know what we can do? We can talk about Captain America, Brave New World. Oh, man. Hey, y'all excited to talk about Captain America, Brave New World? Put a 1 into the chat if you're excited to talk about Captain America, Brave New World. So, interesting stuff going on here, guys. Let's talk a little bit about Captain America, Brave New World, okay? First Marvel movie coming out this year. A couple of things we got to go over today. Number 1, get ready. Ticket sales for Captain America, Brave New World begin soon. Ticket sales start date for Marvel's Captain America, Brave New World has been revealed. The film will go on sale starting Friday, January 17th. Guys, that's this Friday. Are you ready? Are you prepared? According to Box Office Theory reports, Captain America Brave New World is projected to have a domestic opening weekend of 81 to 107 million. That's a pretty wide range there, huh? The total domestic box office is expected to reach between 195 to 280. The film reportedly had a budget of 350 to 375 million. Oh my God. Okay. So, a couple of things we got to talk about here, man. We are starting to get long-range box office predictions for Captain America. 81 to 107 million. Now, just to tell you, and I don't know that this counts for much, right? But Captain America Civil War, which of course was like kind of an Avengers movie, it opened at like 176 million, I believe. So between the 80 to 107, you're looking at like 100 to 70 million less than that movie. Yeah. Now, I have seen so many takes about this. I have seen a lot of people say this is really good. I've seen a lot of people say this is really bad. I kind of think it's right in the middle, right? It's kind of like fine. I don't know. I mean, here's a couple of things that are going on. They have advertised the living shit out of this movie. There are so many TV spots, a lot of pop-up ads at airports, ads in the friggin' sporting events. They've been marketing the living shit out of this movie. Anthony Mackie has been to all of these different conventions. You know how like James Gunn couldn't even Skype call in to CCXP because the Superman movie's terrible and he's freaking out behind the scenes and trying to fix it? He couldn't even be bothered to Skype in. Anthony Mackie has been putting on those fucking wings and flying around the globe, going on stage all over the world to promote this thing. We had something come out late last year that said this was the #1 most anticipated movie of 2025. I think that came from Fandango. So with the amount of marketing that is being put out there and with the supposed amount of interest that was, created for this film, I got to be honest with you. I'm a little shocked. I think this is lower. If this thing had come out and was opening at like 100 to 20, 100 to 40 million dollars, 100 to 40, what am I fucking saying? You know what I'm saying? 120, 140 million dollars. Then I'd be like, okay, right in the pocket. Right in the pocket, baby, But these numbers, I'm not so sure about. I feel like this thing is standing on the edge of glory. And I don't know if it's going to fall off the edge and break both of its legs and need to be helicoptered out. or if it will soar on the vibranium wings that Sam Wilson was gifted in that terrible show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Interesting stuff. Here's something else. We now have the official credited writers for this movie. Check this stuff out. Screenplay by Rob Edwards and Malcolm Spellman and Dalen Mewson and Julius Ona and Peter Glantz. Story by Rob Edwards and Malcolm Spellman and Dylan Mewson. Additional credits that were not going to appear on screen. Michael Calstein, Jeff Loeb, Matthew Orton, and Zeb Wells. So you've got 4 writers that did additional literary material that will not be seen on screen. You have, let's count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 credited screenplay writers and 4 story by writers. The last time we saw some shit like this was literally Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine had 5 different writers, and you could tell it is a clunky mess, but it's super fun. So, I don't know, man. I mean, like Marvel's trying, and as a Marvel fan, like, it's tough. I want to be excited for the movie. I want the movie to do well, but I don't know, brother. Like, they've sort of positioned this movie where even myself, as like one of the most hardcore Marvel supporters you've ever seen, just kind of thinks of it as something we gotta sort of get past. You know, and the press for the movie's been absolutely terrible. This movie is, I don't know if the budget's actually $350 million. I don't know. Maybe they just stopped paying people after reshoot round 18. And so it's not actually that high. But the buzz on the movie has not been great. The screen tests, this, that, second, and the third. Giancarlo Esposito getting super hyped up to play goddamn snake person assassin guy that just says some cold ass shit. I don't know, bro. You know, the movie had a title change. The movie went through several rounds of reshoots. And like, for me, like, I feel like there's a possible future or past in which Sam Wilson as Captain America was really intriguing and really interesting, and his show was awesome, and the movie got hyped, and people were very excited, and it was like, holy shit. I feel like there's a possible version of reality in which that happened, right? Like, I'm not one of these people that thinks, oh, the moment you made it Sam Wilson, you were screwed. I don't agree with that. I think you could have made it Sam Wilson, and I think you could have made it compelling, and I think you could have made his show really interesting, and I think you could have had him cameo in other movies. I think you could have had an Avengers film set up already, which really would have helped friggin' Sam Wilson a lot. I just happen to think we live in a world where that didn't happen. His show is terrible. He doesn't even feel like the same character to me. You know? This movie, I don't know, man. I've heard whack stuff about the different screen testings and things that have happened here. And it's like this. I find myself being a fan, wanting it to do well, but at the same time, like, it's just not an interesting character. You haven't done enough interesting stuff to him. It's like, what do you want me to do? You want me to just act like I'm super excited for it? You want me to just ride for the brand no matter what and say, you know what? It's the next Captain America movie, guys, and we must accept it and get hyped up for it regardless of what is happening. I can't do that. I can't. So I don't know, man. It's like, what is the reality here? Is it the reality that it was just a terrible choice to make Sam Wilson Captain America? Because it's starting to seem that way, right? Or is it rather the reality that you did a bunch of terrible stuff that ended up keeping the character from being able to connect with the wider audience? I don't know which version of this is actually happening. I only know that we've arrived at a place where it's like, brother, I don't really care. You know, like, frankly, I just don't care. So I'm going to go check this movie out. And I think best case scenario is this thing is like way better than people were saying. And I think if I get shocked by how good it is, and it just feels like an incredible ride, super fun Marvel characters, Red Hulk's awesome, right? Sam's freaking awesome. He does a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Maybe Giancarlo Esposito's awesome in it too. And I'm like, dude, this is really, really cool. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you see the movie. It's not that great. It's whatever. And we don't go see it again. And it just, like, at some point, Marvel and all of these studios are going to have to realize that you can do stuff with the best of intentions. And yet, you can still undermine the core goal of those said intentions with your regularly scheduled Hollywood goobly glob, terrible decision making, and also not keeping your eye on the ball. Not making sure that it still satisfies all of the people that like your shit. You know? So Captain America Brave New World is like a really weird movie, a really weird moment in the Marvel fandom. What are you guys going to do? Like, if this movie bombs, because, dude, if it opens below the 86, if it opens below 80, if it opens below 70, like, I don't know, man. Like, what's the reaction? Like, what are we going to even do? Probably not much, and just get ready for the next one that seems way better. So, I don't know. But the facts are the facts. Current box office projections for the movie. Deadline has it at 86 to 96. The box office theory estimates 81 to 107, just sort of a wider range on both ends. You got 5 writers on the thing. You've got bad buzz. Soon we will know. Tickets go on sale on Friday. We'll either get some crazy news that drops either over the weekend or next Monday, saying that it sold more tickets than all the movies in the history of movie making in pre-sales. Or they're not going to say shit, which will speak even louder. So let's find out together. Maybe it'll be super dope. Not looking great as far as I'm concerned here. Not abysmal, but not looking great. That's the take. That's where we're at. What do you think? Chat, what do you think? First of all, do you think it's going to overperform or underperform these projections? Are you personally really excited for the movie? Are you even going to go see the movie? What do you think? Kaylin J says, normies don't pay attention to the reshoots and test screenings. The movie will do well. I think that for the most part, you are correct. But then, like, you look at certain movies, right? So you look at, like, Madam Web, or you look at Joker 2. And it's not that the normies necessarily followed the news as closely as a lot of us did. But there clearly seems to be, en masse, a normie decision that this is not worth my time. I think a lot of the conversations that we have here and that happen in these fandoms kind of spills over into mainstream news, particularly with Marvel. Like, DC might be able to get away with it. Frankly, I think the amount of people that will be talking about the negative test screening for Superman will be very small. Very small. The amount of people that have talked about those test screenings for Captain America is bigger, partially because it becomes low-hanging fruit ammunition for, like, some anti-Marvel, anti-Disney, maybe even anti-woke channels, right? And then that spreads like wildfire, right? But also just partially because I think Marvel is so much bigger of an established brand. So I understand what you're saying, but clearly within this genre specifically, we have seen multiple movies over the last couple of years that have been completely rejected by the normies. How do you make sense of that? And isn't it interesting that most of those movies that were completely rejected by audiences, like The Flash, like Madam Web, like Craven, like The Joker 2, isn't it interesting that channels like myself and content creators in the space have been sort of throwing dirt on those movies' names the entire run-up to them? How many times did we talk shit on Craven before it came out? I had a meeting with a member of my team before Craven came out. I told him dead ass, the movie might actually be okay, but it is going to bomb. And I said it with confidence. I didn't even think it was going to be bomb as bad as it did, but holy brother. So how did I know that? Right? Because there is a connection between what we are talking about, the news that breaks within our circles, and what the normies or the mainstream people hear about. If word of mouth is still very strong and powerful, and I believe it is, where does that word of mouth come from with nerdy movies? It comes from people like us. What is a Craven? I'm not even sure anymore. Riley says, flashbacks of the Mortis arc in live action, fire. Happy 20 nerd. Oh, 20 months. Nice. Nerd Adventures for Life. Much love. Unity. Appreciate you, brother. I think the flashbacks to Mortis would be incredible. Because, you know, speaking of normies, how many mainstream Star Wars fans have even watched the Mortis arc? How many mainstream Star Wars fans can even explain what the ones were, what the father, brother, and sister were, and how Abeloth tied into that picture as well? Like, seriously, how many people can even do that? Well, great opportunity to establish that via live action show in Ahsoka Season 2. Joshua says, I hope we get a surprise Hulk in the battle against Red Hulk to save the day, whether it's Cho or Banner. That would be sweet. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be cool. But I'm just not sure. What is Mortis? See, exactly, Bobby. Exactly. Exactly. History of Sony, no brainer. But do normies even know the difference between Sony movies and DC movies? Why did The Flash and Joker 2 bomb the way that they did? Those aren't connected to Sony. You know? What about The Crow? That shit bombed last year. Animation doesn't move the needle. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Look, I hate that. And in the East, it's not that way, right? Anime and those sort of things are super prevalent in that culture. But I would agree. I think animation is a barrier for entry for Westerners. Kind of sucks, but yeah. Yeah. Josh, Madam Web came out the same time last year. Bad omen. Yeah, that is kind of a rough omen. I have zero clue as to why Captain America Brave New World is a Valentine's Day movie. Like, could you imagine taking your significant other to Captain America Brave New World on Valentine's Day? I mean, I'm literally going to have to force my wife to go to it on Valentine's Day. But, yeah, kind of a wild pick, huh? Mario and Inside Out 2 say otherwise. Did they come out on Valentine's Day too? Wow. Interesting. I know a lot of normies that won't watch animation. I've tried to convince a few people at work to watch Arcane. Yeah, it's a tough sell for people, man. You know, they'll just be like, it's a cartoon, you know? That's about the depth of the conversation. Hulk is red. Valentine's Day red. Pretty obvious. Okay, there you go. Guess I didn't consider that angle. Can you go with your buddy on Valentine's Day? Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, as long as you kiss goodbye. Joshua says the Flash bomb because Ezra Miller sucks. But you know what's funny is, like, look, I actually agree with you, but then that question comes back in, right? Where, like, Kaylin was saying, like, yeah, but normies don't necessarily know that. Did normies even know about Ezra Miller? Do they know he was like kidnapping people and treating friggin' Hawaii like it was GTA 6? Like, I guess some of it must have come out. It was pretty high profile news, right? CO with a 10 spot says Marvel/Star Wars. It's like someone beating the shit out of my childhood best friend. I have the hope that at some point they're going to stop before it's too late. Channels like you in theory are the only ones that keep my hope. Yeah, you know what's crazy about that too? And I appreciate the support, man. And I agree with you. It's been really rough for Star Wars. It's been really rough for Marvel. I actually have not admitted how bad it has gotten for Marvel, really, because I'm still like, if I had to be honest about something, because I still enjoy Marvel the most out of a lot of these other channels, or rather out of a lot of these other IPs and brands, I still have fun. So I'm like considering it to not be as bad as it could be. But I had this like kind of earth-shattering thing happen to me yesterday. I was doing research on Sundays. I like to do a lot of like YouTube work that's like ideation, research, that kind of stuff, right? So I was looking for videos called outliers. These are videos within a certain niche or genre that perform way better than a lot of other videos for that channel, indicating that the idea, the concept of the video is very popular. These are called outliers. I was looking at Marvel stuff and MCU stuff. Holy shit, guys. Holy shit. Compared to a lot of other genres, a lot of other things that are going on, and compared to where this brand was at 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, holy shit. You can see the drop off, and it is staggering. The overall interest in Marvel and the overall interest in concepts and ideas from Marvel has gone way down. So, man, it was tough. I was watching that yesterday. I was like, holy shit, I got to get this Warhammer thing going with Nerd of the Rings, because like even Marvel, and I think Marvel actually has a very good chance to turn around. I've talked about this a lot, right? You know, between the Doomsday stuff and Secret Wars, and then they're going heavy into the mutants. I think Marvel will get back to a relatively healthy place as a brand. But frankly, like the interest about it and about things pertaining to it is way down. Not quite as down as Star Wars, but it is way down. So, yeah, it's kind of tough. Are you saying the Nerd Vengers are the positive community? I'm saying that we might be one of the last true vestiges of people that experienced the Infinity Saga in its glory. And it made us so happy and such big fans that we have weathered all of Phase 4 and Phase 5 and are still trying to find the positives as we move forward. I think we are one of the last communities filled with people that have that perspective. For sure. So. Yeah, and I mean, like, you see people in chat, like, saying, like, it's over for Marvel. They peaked at Endgame. And I remember when people were bringing that up like years ago before the fall off, I'd be like, no, you're crazy. But I think at this point, like it's just obvious, right? One of the best things that happened, which by the way, I don't think they're completely cooked, but I actually do think a lot of people believe that. A lot of people actually do believe that. And some of my content friends think that, you know, some of my friends that even make Marvel content believe that. I don't believe that. But I think it's so obvious to me now how much the interest of that thing has declined. And only because I've also seen how bad it can truly get with like Star Wars and Sony. I still appreciate what Marvel's been able to do and how they've been able to weather that storm. And I think they'll be fine. They will be fine. But will it ever get back to what it once was? That's a different question. I'm not so sure. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not so sure. And that's like at one In one way, that's a testament to like how crazy it was. I think maybe the silver lining of the Marvel fall off is that it basically made everybody agree that what had happened was really special. I mean, I remember all your usual suspects that do like the anti-Disney content. They were trying to do anti-Disney stuff to the MCU for years. And it just never stuck. It was like Teflon. It would just fall off because they were killing it. People loved the movies. Even people within those communities loved those movies. And they were like, no, stop. You can't say this about that. Like, this is great. So the beauty is that now by comparison, we all realize how special those movies were and how special that time period was. It kind of hurts to be like, man, we might not ever get back there. But at least we were there, you know? And for people like me, like I wasn't just there. Like, you know, my whole thing, my career, my channel, everything was popping off. I mean, the year that Endgame came out was the year I went full-time on YouTube. And then obviously I had a lot of struggle after that. But that, I mean, I was so in it then. It was a moment, it was a sort of season that I will never forget. That was incredible stuff. It's good stuff. Okay, couple other smaller bits here, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, Vincent D'Onofrio did sort of chime in on the Twitters to say that the Daredevil trailer has been postponed because of the LA fires. So maybe it was supposed to come out last week and it's been delayed. Maybe it was supposed to come out this week and it's delayed till next week. They are kind of playing it a little close because the show's relatively close. I think you do need to start marketing. I'd expect the trailer either sometime this week or maybe next week. So, little update for you there about the Daredevil trailer, okay? That's kind of fun. This one is kind of interesting, man. Take a look at this, guys. What do you see here? Bunch of dead symbiotes on some whack-ass planet here, chilling. And if you thought to yourself when you saw this, oh, that's gotta be from Kraven the Hunter, you would actually be correct, and I would want to know how you drew that conclusion. This is concept art for Kraven the Hunter. Guys, Kraven the Hunter. Bunch of dead symbiotes on a wasteland. Looks like they're in front of Mordor or some shit. Now, here's the thing. I've not seen Kraven the Hunter. I don't know about Kraven. But I've seen other people that did watch that movie react to this concept art, and they have no clue where this would have fit into that film in any way, shape, or form. So this is just one more sign. One more sign, dude, that Sony had no goddamn idea what they were cooking up here. Like, what is this? Were they dead ass just going to put out a weird Kraven movie where he hunts people that hunt animals instead of just hunt animals? And then the weird post-credit scene was going to be all of these symbiotes dying. And as they're dying, one of them says, like, has something to do with Spider-Man, I think. Like, that's basically where we're at, man. Holy, dude. So, like, just more evidence here that the fine folks over there at Sony Pictures or Sony Entertainment have completely lost the plot. And it's good that those people have been removed from the company. It's good that we're moving in a different direction here. I don't know. I mean, I almost suspect that Kevin Feige saw this shit when they were cooking up Kraven. And he went back into Marvel Studios' office. And he was like, there's no way we're going to do Noel. Let's do the Hulk and Punisher instead. Like, I have half a mind to think that the absurdity of a lot of the Spider-Man 4 rumors might be a direct result of Kevin having to deal with Sony, because this feels as fucking random as a lot of the rumors and crazy stuff that we've heard that Sony wants to do in the Spider-Man 4 film. So just wanted to bring this up to you. Holy Shit. Okay, let's move on to this one. Sometimes we open up our mouth parts and weird stuff comes out. For me, this usually happens after having a few drinks or eating a bunch of different kinds of food all at once. Over the weekend, Andy Muschietti, who I'm absolutely sure will be directing The Brave and the Bold, explained why he thinks The Flash failed. Apart from all the other reasons, it wasn't a movie that appealed to the 4 quadrants. It failed at that. When you spend $200 million making a movie, Warner wants to bring even your grandmother to the theaters. And I found out in private conversations that a lot of people just don't care about the Flash as a character, particularly the 2 female quadrants. All that is wind going against the movie that I learned about. Holy. Okay. Couple of problems here. Number one, I don't like this 4 quadrant talk and the grandmother talk. Does this guy watch Den of Nerds or something? Stealing the lingo, stealing my points, and also talking absolute nonsense. He wants to be me. He literally wants to be me. But let's put that aside for a second. People don't just like The Flash? Well, I got a couple of problems with this. Number one, as far as I know, The Flash was a 9-season show on the CW, which pulled in some of the highest ratings that they have ever had in their whole goddamn life, to the point that they had him crossover with your Flash. Yeah, y'all remember? Y'all remember? I remember. That shit happened. And it was one of the only things you've done that actually made news and got people talking on social media, etc. So, number one, wrong. People like The Flash. Dude, you had a massive live action show. Okay? Number two, problem with this. You didn't even use The Flash to market the film. You used Batman. And not just one Batman, but 2. You, actually 3, now that I think about it. You used 3 goddamn Batman in this movie. You used Supergirl. You used archival footage of Superman. You used Wonder Woman. Brother, you did not, I mean, it's just like, this is one of those things where I don't know exactly what's going on in his head. I don't know if he's trying to save face. I don't know if he's trying to secure further work, because he definitely ain't doing the Brave and the Bold movie now. I don't know exactly what's going on, but like, why do you have to say stuff like this? You know what I mean? Like, why the need to gaslight so hard? You know, it kind of reminds me of this thing that's going on with Elon Musk right now, where, like, I don't know if you saw this, but so Elon, he's been going around a podcast and, you know, like, I don't know if you heard of the Joe Rogan Experience. It's this little show that, for whatever reason, is the biggest show on the planet. Elon is going on to these different shows and talking about how he's one of the greatest gamers in the world. Okay? And it basically just came out that he's been paying people to boost his characters in these other games. Basically, Elon is not an incredible pro gamer. He is a fraud. And the thing that's so confusing about it is, like, would it really have been that big of a deal if you just were, like, decent or even bad at games? What are you doing here? This feels so weird. Why lie about that? And then why go on all these podcasts and do all these things where you're like, I'm kind of the GOAT gamer. I'm actually fucking incredible at all this stuff, and like gaming's really cool and all this stuff. Feels like such a weird thing to lie about. Like, why would you do that? So I don't understand why people do stuff like this. Like, you really thought this was so important that you would signal it on like a massive stage, and then you're so obviously not that guy? Like, it just feels so weird to lie about that, right? And I feel the same thing, like here, like Muschetti says, it's not a 4-quadrant movie. I found out in private conversations that people don't care about the Flash, particularly the 2 female quadrants. And that's just going against the movie. Like, man, it just feels like a super weird thing to say, because like you could have just said, you know, I'm not really sure. I thought there were a lot of factors maybe going against the film. I did my best to create a movie that honored the legacy, and I hope maybe someday it's appreciated by fans. I don't know why you have to come out here and make this statement, dude. Like, it feels so disingenuous. Human's gonna human, I guess. So anyway, I just wanted to bring this up. This is fucking crazy to me, dude. Like, can you believe he said this? Like, I don't know. Do you think that this is true? I mean, dude, the Flash show was massive. The Flash character is massive. And you sold it using Batman, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman. It feels like this is maybe one of the most ridiculous statements I've seen in a long time. It reminds me of the Sony guy that was like, critics just decided to randomly shit on our movies. It's all the critics' fault. Those movies aren't even bad. Like, Brown. This feels weird, huh? So probably just a footnote on the unfortunate ending of the career of Andy Muschietti, at least as far as it goes with DC. But I had to bring it up, man. Like, this is just too crazy to let go. And I saw a lot of people kind of giving him shit on social media for this. And I think you kind of deserve it, man. Like, brother, you probably should have just said, like, yeah, man. Like, I honestly would have respected it more if he was like, you know what? I don't know. Like, that movie was fucked when I got there. Like, they had done like 6, 7 versions of it. It had been delayed 4 or 5 years. I don't think y'all motherfuckers are giving me enough credit for getting it across the finish line, especially when you consider that the guy that started the movie was going around treating the world like GTA 6. Put a little respect on my fucking name. I would have been like, yo, Andy. Woo! My man. Let him know. Like, let him know. And instead he's like, people actually don't like The Flash, which is why we didn't actually market it around The Flash, and yet it's still the fault of the 4 quadrants and your grandma. Like, come on, bro. Holy. Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? I want to watch this video here about Black Panther that Chillmonger did, and then I'm going to wrap up the stream, guys, because my in-laws are in town, actually, so I want to go hang out with the family a little bit. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, anything else? Why is he worried about the 2 female quadrants? Well, when you make a 4-quadrant movie, you have to think about all 4 quadrants. But his point is that the movie was hurt because there's no appeal for that character, which is kind of like him saying, like, it never should have been attempted as a 4-quadrant film. But that's weird. Do you like Tomlin? I like Tomlin, but look, I've seen a lot of the commentary about Tomlin and the Steelers, and I think a lot of it's on point. There are plenty of teams that would be very excited to just get in the playoffs every year. There are plenty of teams that would be excited to not have a losing season in, like, what, I don't know, 14 years or whatever his tenure has been. There are plenty of teams that would be, that's good enough for. I think Pittsburgh is in a different category, and I think expect greatness. And I do think they need major changes. And I do think the philosophy of the entire company is a little behind the times. Pittsburgh's always prided themselves on toughness, defense, running game. And yet, I think the NFL has moved on. And I think high-powered offense and I just think there's a lot that they could be doing to kind of adapt to the times. So I don't know if that means you have to get rid of Tomlin, but I think they need to blow the team up regardless. I don't know if you need to get rid of both of those quarterbacks, but you should probably get rid of at least one of them. So. Okay, let's watch this video here by Chillmonger. I thought this video was actually pretty good. Now, the whole idea here, and he hit me up privately about this, and I wanted to react to this because, we talked about T'Challa last week. We talked about a bunch. And I think the perspective of other Black fans is important. And Chillmonger kind of has I would say almost a unique take on this. He's very set on just T'Challa coming back. And he kind of rejects the child, right? So to give you a little context here, right? Right now, there is some debate on whether or not the new T'Challa that Jeff Snyder scooped a couple of weeks ago, that recast, there's debate on will this be the child, the one at the end of Wakanda Forever that's aged up via the multiverse or whatever, or is it going to be actual T'Challa recast? So because there's conflicting reports, I thought it would be interesting to watch this video here where Chillmonger talks about why he is very much against the T'Child. And I also think this is damn interesting because I actually think that Marvel is going to do the T'Child. So check it out.
You saw the thumbnail. You see, even if Denzel Washington was cast to play, what's his name, Nakia?
This is my son, Toussaint.
His mama named him Toussaint? I'ma name him Toussaint. AKA Nakia's son, AKA TJ, AKA Junior, AKA T'Challa, AKA T'Child. That character is impeding on us getting T'Challa the much needed elevation that this character needs. We're jumping off to IGN, and you can see that Superman and Batman, when they ranked the top 100 characters a decade ago, were number 1 and number 2. The mainstream appearances, the consistent appearances, and never swapping one of these out for their son to take the mantle. Can you imagine if we got that in the first Batman movie? Slapping the name.
So you know what's interesting about that? And I'm sure if you're a super sweaty comic nerd, you might already know where I'm going with this. Technically, they did. I mean, within comics, they did. Within mainstream, not so much. Which I do think the thesis here is correct because again, we've been talking about normies all stream. It's the mainstream. It's the normies. They come to this way more through animation or live action than they do the actual comics. But it's important to remember, Superman died and was gone, and there were other Superman that came in, and it was derivative, and et cetera, and then eventually Superman returned. Batman died. I remember when he shot Darkseid, he technically died, but then he went back through time and came back. Dick Grayson is Batman for some time. So technically, they do actually step away and come back, but I do think the point is still fair.
Name Bruce doesn't make somebody Batman. Just like slapping the name T'Challa wouldn't make anybody a T'Challa. But if we did get a Bruce who was not actual Bruce Wayne and it was the son, man, we'd never get the brand to where it is at now. Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wolverine. We'd have to scroll all the way down to 51. This was a decade ago when they did this, and we know he's not here anymore. We know he's competing with characters like Deadpool, Tim Drake, Nick Fury, Jesse Carter, Judge Dredd, and Spawn. We know he's definitely beaten them, but he's climbed up the ranks, and I would like for the continual progression and elevation.
I think that's actually totally fair. I think that T'Challa became super high profile. I think he's even lower than 51 before Black Panther came out. A lot of comic book fans know who he is, but outside of that, how representative was T'Challa? Was he in a lot of the cartoons? I remember Earth Mightiest Heroes. T'Challa was in there, and it was really cool. But how representative was the character truly? Obviously, after the first Black Panther movie, that changes like fucking crazy, dude, right?
of this intellectual property known as the Black Panther, T'Challa. While people are going to tell you mantle this and it's throughout time, there's all different parents, Marvel present is where 9 out of 10 comics, 19 out of 20 comic books take place in. He is the Black Panther throughout all of existence of this publishing company. We got to be boosting the brand, the IP, which is the one that we call T'Challa here, and this is the T'Challa. When Toussaint showed up, it was a worry for recast T'Challa. Was this the answer to the campaign?
Uncle Barney, my name is Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa.
Don't even say nothing to me, boy. You look like a motherfucking
Is Toussaint supposed to be the substitute T'Challa? It was as if the...
So to be totally clear about this, and look, I understand Chillmonger's point. I'm going to let him talk. We'll break it down afterwards. But I think it's important to remember that, like, Disney was pushing hard for Shuri to be the Black Panther. Shuri and Letitia herself pushed back against that. The ending of the film was actually changed mostly because Shuri did not want to continue as the Black Panther. So there are 2 male Black Panthers or leaders that are introduced at the end of the movie. First of all, M'Baku is made king of Wakanda. He becomes the ipso facto ruler of Wakanda. And you get the introduction of the child version of T'Challa, which was potentially always planned to, like, age up and become the actual T'Challa. So these moves are made after the initial push from Disney just simply did not work and Letitia rejected it. So then they had to sort of alter the plan, right? Just for context.
Cry fell on deaf ears. The issue was never a black male representation problem, or we need a person whose name is T'Challa problem. This was about the T'Challa. This was about an intellectual property, about a brand who his father is Toussaint, a.k.a. the T'Child, a.k.a. TJ, a.k.a. T'Challa, a.k.a. Junior T'Challa, is a whole nother character who has no comic book precedence.
That's true.
Nothing you can sink into or get into reading and learn about, which the benefit of all those other characters on the list would have. And he's got no guarantee to exist in future iterations when things reboot. When Kevin Feige eventually ages, retires, starts over again, and in comes a new set of people, same way James Gunn and Peter Safran are coming in, there's no guarantee that they'll start with T'Child. They'll do not regular T'Challa. And all of the last few years that everyone was putting into the Denzel Washington or Damson Idris or Yulanoel or Aldous Hodge version of T'Child, boosting this substitute T'Challa's status, goes for nothing. He's never going to be seen again. That is a waste.
I think that's fair. It's fair because, like, what he's saying is, you know, Superman, Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, Batman, a lot of these other characters, they continue to grow through mainstream, and not always in a straight line. Superman's had ups and downs and dips, etc. But the most seen versions of those characters pretty consistently are the version. So it's a lot easier to sort of build that brand and build that cachet with fans over time when you keep it the exact same. However, the only thing I would say, and the only, like, rebuttal I would give to that is, like, technically it is not strictly the case that these characters that are just created fall by the wayside and are never built on themselves. There are examples of characters that pop up in kind of random ways, like Harley Quinn's a great example, that then catch fire and are built on in their own right as a big character. So, like, one of my favorites is this character of Crusade. She's the daughter of Captain America and Rogue from an alternate future version of Secret Wars, right? And this character's introduced via a movie. There's, like, some comic book stuff there. And I thought that character was dope, right? And she's, like, derivative a little bit. And it's almost like a baton passing thing because she has Mjolnir and she has Captain America's shield and she's got Rogue's strength and she's, like, super badass. So I don't think, I think if I had to critique what Chillmonger is saying, it's that he is basically ascribing an agenda to these decisions, and he's claiming that the agenda is, like, simply to hurt or to stop the cachet and profile of that character being built. I disagree with that. I think what you have is people doing what in some ways they always do and looking for opportunities in interesting ways to create new stories or to solve certain problems. It's totally fair, however, to point out that the T'Challa, his stock within, fandom will be hurt by doing the child. I actually agree with that. Let's keep going, though.
Of these valuable resources, there are so few times a $200 million budget will go to a lead character with that hue. Let's just face it. If we're going to do it, let's have a character with foundation, elevate on, and build on. We can't.
I think that's a fair argument. He's basically saying, like, if you're going to do this, using these resources, they're limited. Let's do it to build the biggest one so that he can actually stand toe-to-toe in popularity with some of these other big characters.
Do that with Toussaint or any substitute T'Challa. You want to get a variant? We can make a variant work. Treat him like he's the king and have him offer the great representation T'Challa offers. He's T'Challa from another universe. All right, fine. I would have just straight up done a true recast, and I'm still advocating for a true recast, but I can accept a variant T'Challa if done correctly to satisfy the absence of a T'Challa. Creating a brand new character is giving me a super easy, barely an inconvenience as solution. And everybody knows that's not T'Challa. I know it. He knows it. The Warhammer guy knows it.
Hey.
Toussaint is a whole new stand-in substitute character.
Hey, talk about branding, man. I'm the Warhammer guy now. You know what I mean? We've been working on that.
And I'm TLC. I don't want no subs. No, I don't want King M'Baku. No, you can keep Letitia right. And no, I don't want another Shuri movie. No, I don't want any T'Child. No, I don't want no sub. A sub is T'Challa, can't get no love from me. Hanging on the recast side, waiting for Orion and Kevin Feige. I'm so good at this. If you haven't, thumbs up to
That's pretty good.
Toussaint strikes fear in recast T'Challa's heart, unlike Shuri, who was an actual comic book character. It's
true.
not a male-female thing. Please, you're being disingenuous if you do pretend that is, and you're pretending not to understand the problem. No matter how old T'Child is, he is
What
not
up, Matt?
T'Challa. He's a separate, brand new character.
Yeah, so he did a shorter video, which kind of had this chart in it, too. And I think it's totally fair. Like, look, that point is solid. And I think if you're going to take the angle that doing the child or doing some other weird thing ultimately just leads to a place where T'Challa Black Panther is not as popular and can't stand toe-to-toe with some of these other big brands and stuff like that, I totally get that. But again, I would say that we're ascribing agenda and we're ascribing sort of preferred outcomes to what is happening here. And I think there's just some holes in that particular argument. I don't think that's what's going on here. By the way, I've seen some crazy theories about, Captain or about Black Panther and all this stuff just in general. Like, look, we're going to kind of step into like a wild realm of like Black Twitter and like the Black community. But have you guys ever seen the comments that Dr. Umar has made about actual Black Panther, like the very first movie? And I only bring that up to say that within that community, there are all kinds of perspectives. And some people, like Dr. Umar, have a perspective that it's all propaganda, that it's all being weaponized and used basically against the Black community. And again, for me, I'm just like, I just don't think so. Like, I just don't see this sort of collective group of individuals that are making moves in such a way to try to like propagandize all of this certain stuff. I think at the end of the day, what happened with Chadwick Boseman was tragic. And I think Marvel made some decisions that they thought were respectful to the character and to the fans. And I think ultimately the biggest argument against that is, we just like T'Challa as a character and want him back, But I do think, to take it full circle back, I do think that his point here is a fair one that should be considered within the context of that conversation.
Talked about it before, and we talked about how Superman got to his position, so did the Hulk, and Hawkeye is at his position. T'Challa did a great job.
I guess the question for you guys is like, if some of the bigger projects of like for instance, if Matt Reeves' Batman, or maybe like, I don't know, it's hard to say, like maybe Christopher Nolan's a better example. If Christopher Nolan's films were Dick Grayson as Batman, or even Damian Wayne as Batman. Do you think that would have made Batman, Bruce Wayne, ultimately like a less popular, not as prestigious character? That's the question. And with Superman, it's tricky too, right? Like Jonathan Kent as Superman seems to have not worked out that great in comics. Like people aren't super down. Would that have worked in mainstream via some of the movies and whatnot? And then how would that have changed how the zeitgeist views these characters? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Job, and not having T'Challa on screen is costing this great character, the father of Toussaint.
I think that's true.
Of his limelight, of his once A-list status, which I can't say for sure he is anymore. This summer, as society renews our subscription with the Superman IP, Clark Kent Superman, ask yourself why the same doesn't happen for the greatest, most positively impactful, melanated character that Hollywood has ever had, the highest grossing fictional character to impact representation's best representative, T'Challa.
Yep.
Ask yourself, is the Black Panther IP in 2025 an established enough brand where we can mix and match who gets the mantle with every passing movie at no risk to diluting this brand? We're not there yet. We're not at an experimental phase with this character. We haven't been, because after the first movie, they killed the main character. They're going to give you another character named Toussaint, and you can call him T'Challa all you want. We know that that's not the character who his dad is. Recast T'Challa are asking to have Shuri's brother back in the best way possible. As the Black Panther, as the king, who is intelligent, strong, who's got the same power set he has in comic books, and just is a faithful adaptation. The ask is to recast. It's nothing that's odd that didn't happen to Ross. Recasting T'Challa isn't this extreme ask. I'm asking for the industry norm. The ones being difficult are Marvel Studios, who are fixated on T'Challa having to be dead, even though Derek Boseman said he'd be fine with the recast. Here's the footage.
I would have been fine with it because Chad was not him and he wasn't Chad. You know, Chad was Chad. T'Challa is just the character. The role was far too important. And it was bigger than just one person because of the effect that it had on black children.
It's on Kevin Feige and Ryan Coogler if they're trying to pass off Toussaint as the T'Challa recast. A substitute is not a recast. Toussaint is the biggest threat to T'Challa. He impedes on this character from being elevated into the A-list status and being cemented in the pop culture zeitgeist. Recast T'Challa
could be
as
true.
We take a big, deep sigh of relief with the In Snyder report rumor. Let's keep our foot on the gas and keep asking for the T'Challa recast and make it clear we are rejecting the T'Child, Toussaint. TJ is not T'Challa. Nakia's son, who, by the way, not even confirmed that it's his real son, I'm just saying, isn't T'Challa. I want to add one thing. The actor who plays this character, Divine Love, I want him to be T'Challa. This kid is what, 7, 8 years old? I want this kid to practice his acting, read up on some comic books and get familiar with the lore. It'll be funnest homework you could ever do. Read about some history, learn an African language, try to master your accent.
Yeah.
In the future, there are going to be Black Panther movies, you know, once that reboot happens.
True.
Once Kevin Feige retires, Iman Vellani is the president of Marvel Studios. She'll give you an audition, and you can play real, true T'Challa when they start over again. It'll be a good 20 years. You'll be old enough, and they'll start with a younger T'Challa, maybe 25, 26. You could be that. So to Divine, if you're watching because you looked it up, I want you to be T'Challa. I want you to be T'Challa for 30 years. Shout out to you, Divine. The final thing to let you go on is on this channel, Normies to Nerds, you can hear an opposite opinion of someone who was accepting of the T'Child. It was,
we ain't doing.
well, look at that just got out of bed here, but it was me talking to Kendall and Justin. The conversation begins at the 45th minute, and you can check that one out right here. I'm chill. Recast T'Challa, the true T'Challa, and I'm out.
Cool. Good video. And I think too, look, it's an ongoing conversation. You know, one of the things that we totally accept and understand here is that like no group of people is a monolith. That includes the black community. So there are a lot of varied opinions about this thing, even within that community. And I think it's just like to get it out there, to have the conversation is healthy, I think. And, you know, we also know that Marvel Studios and a lot of these other companies, they watch shows like this. They watch videos like the ones we make, and they're trying to sort of assess like how the fans feel. So feel free to let me know your thoughts, whether you watch this on the Clips channel or you're watching it here in the stream. Put it in the comment section. Put it in down, in the comment section or in the live chat, and let's continue the conversation. I mean, I guess for my part, I understand the point. I think the only area where I disagree is sort of attributing any sort of malice or agenda to some of these decisions. And I also think there's a group of people that might be okay with like technically a new like T'Challa that's the child that's T'Challa. I mean, ultimately, like if this dude is black, he is male, he is of a certain age and a certain physicality, and he's in scenes with other Avengers and they're calling him T'Challa and shit like that. Like to me, I don't know. That's pretty close. Like that's pretty close, especially if he embodies a lot of the same attributes of the character from the comics. But yeah, so interesting conversation. Wanted to just share this perspective with you all. All right, let me catch up on a couple of the chats here, guys, and then I do have to get out of here because, again, I have some family in town, and so I want to kind of kick it with the fam a little bit. But, yeah, let's see what's going on here. I thought it was a good video, and also, like, you know, I saw you saying something, Kendall. If you'd like, man, I can't necessarily... Wait, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? Russo's on why they're returning for the Avengers? That's a story we need to tell. Dude, I can't do this. I gotta get out of here. Why you do this? Why you hit me up like this, man? Shit. Kendall, why don't you just make a response video? Make a response video and I'll bring it up on the stream. Also, what the hell is going on with my hair today, bro? What the hell is going on with my hair? You know, I got my hair cut and they took too much of it. You know, they took too much of my hair. And now I'm gonna go bald. Or maybe I was already going bald. Maybe I should just shave it. All right, let me catch up on a couple of these chats and then we're gonna get on out of here, okay? Let's see here. Joshua says, I hope we get a surprise haul. Oh, we already went over that. I was baffled as to why Marvel never pursued the cosmic characters post Endgame, like Nova, and led into the Annihilation Saga. Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for you. There were some reports back in the day that Marvel Studios was going to split the current saga between Earthbound stories and cosmic stories. So that was a big rumor at one time, and then it kind of seems like they just went, and then it didn't really match up with that. Rossi says the post scene could have been Kraven from better Infinity War status to Dark Knight status. What? Oh, I was so confused by that, but I got you. Joshua says, as a white man, I think it would be lame to make the son carry the movie on. Version of white characters, the original actors died. I'd prefer a recast. Yeah, I feel mostly the same. I think the child situation is a little unique, let's say. Yeah, I don't know. Parker Thwip says with a $10 holla, says, was in the hospital with paroxysmal AFib, irregular heartbeat, and had to be cardioverted? Doc assured me it's all good. Isn't uncommon for healthy people. Doc also said KK stink, and I trust him. Okay, there you go. Well, I'm glad that you're okay. I'm sorry that your heart's going crazy. That was basically what happened to me when I was watching the Steelers game. I had a paroxysmal AFib as well. I just poured more tequila, and it did the trick for me. But look, different strokes, different folks. Hashtag not financial advice. Much love. All right, everybody. I thought that was a pretty good stream. I thought we got into some really cool stuff today. You know, we talked about Star Wars. Maybe there's hope. Look at this, by the way. 64% still on that Filoni. Let's go. We talked about Marvel Studios, Captain America, Brave New World. What the hell? We had some laughs at the expense of Sony and Andy Muschietti. And we talked a little bit about recast T'Challa. Good stuff. Appreciate you guys. Video coming out today, maybe tomorrow, but probably today. Big old video about the Maestro Hulk. A lot of the rumors about World War Hulk. I put it all into a video. I drew a whole bunch of conclusions, talked about deep spoilers. I think we're getting Maestro Hulk. So if you're excited for that shit, check that video out later today. We'll be back at it tomorrow at 11. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Rossi says, what time is the Christian Harloff Star Wars news? It already happened. It was like I said, Embo. The dude with the big wide head, that weird ass motherfucker from Clone Wars and shit. Yeah, Embo. He's the villain, or at least one of the villains for Mando Grogu. There you go. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Rachi says, I hate my life as a Star Wars fan. I mean, it's not the coolest news. I mean, Embo is whatever. You know, like, who gives a shit? Embo? I'm supposed to get excited for Jabba's son and Embo? Get that Embo out of my face. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the love, the support. We got a lot of nerd vengeance to do in this year of 2025, man. Thank you for all the love. We'll be back at it soon. Take care of yourselves, you know? Remember, open up that third eye. remember that Elon is a fake gamer girl. And wash out your stinky butt. All right.